Welcome to another episode of Event Explorer. I'm your host, Daniel Roth, and this is the podcast where we dive deep into the stories behind some of the world's most incredible events. Today we are rolling out the red carpet to talk about the cinematic world of movie premieres. We'll hear all about how these star-studded events come together, how they're designed, staged, and directed from a very special guest. But before we dig in, let's look at the tradition behind them. It dates back to the early days of cinema, with one of the first major events being the premiere of Robin Hood in 1922 at Grauman's Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. Now, this was the first to integrate the now iconic red carpet, turning the premiere into an event all on its own. And over the years, these have grown and changed and become more creative. Gone with the Wind in 1939 took the event to Atlanta to reflect the setting of the movie. In 2018, Black Panther brought African-inspired fashion and performances to LA and set the tone for the film's release. It connects it to the magic of the movie. Today's premieres, they go way beyond just a red carpet and a screening. They often include live performances, themed after parties, interactive fan experiences, and even global live-streamed events for the world to see the stars parade down that carpet. Some are citywide celebrations, like the Barbie premiere that transformed locations in LA into bright pink wonderlands, and others, like Dune 2, premiere at places like Lincoln Center to emphasize sophistication and high design. They're not just about celebrating the film, these events are about building a brand, fostering cultural moments, and creating unforgettable memories for fans and attendees alike. Now, to unpack the magic behind these productions, we are thrilled to welcome Eric Rutherford of 1540 Productions to the show. 1540 is a creative studio known for crafting innovative and immersive events for some of the biggest films in Hollywood. Recently, they've done Kung Fu Panda 4, The Marvels, Red 1, and Wicked. We'll hear about that in the episode. But before we dive in, please don't forget to subscribe and follow Event Explorer on your favorite podcast platform. Your support allows us to continue exploring these stories behind the world's most captivating events. Now, let's explore the world of movie premieres. On with the show. All right, welcome back to Event Explorer. Today I am happy to welcome our guest, Eric Rutherford of 1540 Productions. Thank you for being here.
Dan, thank you for having me.
Looking at the output that you do, all this great social media, you're putting out, such a cool record of some amazing events. And what I'm learning is you've just kind of taken a turn to be behind the camera, and you started out kind of in front of the camera, which our viewers may understand, looking at some of your history and the, IMDb of Eric Rutherford. How did this all come about? Were you always a performer? Did you take some time behind the camera? Like, where did this interest in this switch come about and just getting into show business in general?
Well, I've been performing since I was very, very young. I started my first professional production as an actor when I was 10, 11 years old. And then started modeling and kind of doing all that, and then went to USC for a theater school out in Los Angeles, and that's what got me on the West Coast. And as any person or actor or performer who's just starting out, often you have time in between jobs, right? Whether it's in between jobs themselves or auditions or whatnot. And I happen to have two wonderful people cross my path in between jobs. And a friend of mine owned one of the top catering companies in the business, and then another was a big producer at one of the largest event companies in the United States. And they said, listen, if you've got time and you want to learn something new, come and be a PA on these jobs or come and be a cater waiter, right? And so for me, I'm always open to trying something new. And one of the things that I loved about it was every day was something different. You created a memory, whether big or small. And I literally learned every aspect of a production, which is very similar to, producing a play or being a part of a film or a TV show. So for me, it was like a fish to water, right? I loved it. And to be able to create, to walk into a blank parking lot or a dirt road or, the side of a hill or a football field or a street in Hollywood, to then come in and through the many, many talents of many different departments, you get to create this spectacle, right? That really brings to life, whether it's a film or a TV show. And so I started doing that, and more that was gaining my interest. And I did that for many, many, many years, and then kind of left that aspect of the business and was at the Hollywood Reporter for a few years. And that was right around the time of the rise of social media. And as we all know now, because it seems like everyday norm, right? But again, this was a few years ago. Every studio, every magazine, every kind of entertainment conglomerate, right, was like, what is our social media strategy? And so I was already starting to play with all those different platforms and engaging and kind of coming up with strategy. But one of the things that happened for me was, I always like to say at that point, I was an old man in a young man's game. And, and at 48 years old, 47, 48 years old, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. And this was like 8 years ago. And, I felt, and so I started having brands reach out to me directly. And as a storyteller, and you telling a story through images or words or film, right? I was fascinated by what this medium could do. And also it seemed like a wonderful third chapter in my life, right? Something that I never expected. So I started doing that, and I found some success, and I had kind of global campaigns, and I signed with a huge agency, and the whole time, which actually makes me smile thinking about it, was the whole time, because I knew what it was like to create a moment, and to tell a story because of what I had done in events. I was doing that and being able to talk to a brand and like, well, if we shot it this way or if we tell it this way, I just happened to be, the main character partnering with whatever product it was.
Sure.
And, listen, the pandemic hit, we all did a reset, and we all still tried to engage with each other. And, and I know we're going to talk about just fan engagement later on, but, that was a thing that always got me excited, was be able to connect with people. And, after the pandemic, I really started to assess kind of what kind of participation I wanted the next chapter of my life to be. And the wonderful thing is I'd always, kept my relationship with the team at 1540 and Craig, the owner. And I reached out to them and I said, listen, I'm based in New York. If you ever need some help, I know what a great location looks like. I know what a brand is looking for or a studio looks for, but I would be happy to do that for you. And wonderfully and gratefully to this day, we started working together more and more. And then I came on as a full-time producer about 2 years ago. And it's been such a fantastic ride since then.
Love it. What a cool confluence. I think a lot of events people are very focused on doing things live on site. Obviously people involved in a Hollywood premiere or something that they know is that's actually kind of one of the first social media kind of creation events, if you think about it, that it's an event intent on creating content that then is dispersed. It's not necessarily perhaps some of the attendees almost don't want to be there, but they have to do it. It's part of the job, and it's part of publicity and PR and A&R, even with music, of getting the image out there. And for you to have that understanding, I must bring so much to 1540. So I would guess, even from the earliest conversations, that's informing the approach to how they're going to tackle an event. How has that kind of contributed over the last couple of years?
Well, listen, as you just said it's premieres were content creators for decades now, right? It was about capturing a moment. It was creating some excitement, interest, a wow, buzz factor, word of mouth, and also too, it wasn't that long ago that really the only times that you saw the celebrities or the musicians or the actors, right, that you looked up or watched on the street or something was at a premiere and you got in a magazine. And so, with the importance or rise of social media, it was another way to capture those moments and in an immediate moment, of the moment, going live, so to speak. So, what were you gonna say, Dan?
Just when did you first contact this and become in contact with premieres and in the way they happen?
So again, I probably did my first premiere 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And again, it was different times, certainly, right? There were streamers weren't around, and we had the big movie premieres and with all the studios, and you had tentpole features that, it came around during the summer, and then you had the art house films, and again, it was a range of we'll just say the size of a premiere that one would warrant, right? And then, even then it began to, because, a premiere is, you could say a premiere is like, there's an arrivals, there's still photography, there's TV interviews, there's a cast photo, and then even that, you have to constantly adapt or evolve, right? Whether it's the film that you're supporting or the actor that's in it. And, the wonderful thing is I already saw that evolving, because, I was still a part of the industry when Disney had that first wave of success, in the sense of with a new animation, whether it was The Lion King or Pocahontas or Little Mermaid. And the scale of a premiere, right, really just grew, because you also saw how much it affected the consumer. Consumer products are, and again, the different areas of not just the film promotion. So,
No, I just am thinking about the kind of idea of that even, especially with animation, this is the first time, an animated film from Disney will maybe become a ride one day, or maybe become a toy in a store. But this is kind of the first line of realization of a creative vision outside. And I touched 1540 Productions a little bit. We did some work at Sony Studios and things like that back when I was producing kind of some film related content, and I really loved it because it starts from a creative place and you're adding to the universe. Yeah, tell me a little bit about how you kind of draw inspiration from the piece, or what you're promoting, and then create an event around that.
One of the fabulous things, and I am biased, of course, because I worked there, but I felt this way about 1540 since the very beginning. And I knew Craig and the team that's there even before 1540 existed. And they're some of the most talented, innovative, inspiring, persistent, and we've done this, so how do we even do it better? And when a studio or a streamer comes to you, right? And again, you listen. You ask questions. You want to understand, one, certainly what the film is about, but also what the intention is, And so then you begin, and every film, right, has its own incarnation of how to, as you said, how to make it come to life at the premiere. And again, one of the fantastic things about 1540 is you truly walk into this space, and we can do everything from soup to nuts, so to speak, right? Whether it's ideation or innovation or create or build or sketch, or, whether it's a fan activation or scale up and shutting down, Hollywood Boulevard type thing. But nothing is too small of a detail for us not to discuss. Because again, it's in those details, right, where you really make a difference. And where a fan, particularly because of social media now, where a fan is going to pick up on it, And so every little nuance makes a difference. Every moment that you're going to affect the guest experience really becomes a lasting moment. Whether it's a giveaway or a takeaway or a photo or fan engagement that is present. And, we've been very busy in New York this week. And one of the elements that really stuck out for me is now almost in every premiere that we do, there's fan engagement in some capacity.
Give me the example. What'd you do this week?
Well, so sorry, leave you hanging. So I was involved with two of the big premieres. So last night we did the Wicked New York premiere, and then earlier in the week I produced the Red One premiere. And with Red One, we're in New York, and how do you also too, depending on location, that becomes another character in it. Whether it's, Rockefeller Center or Lincoln Center, or, in Hollywood, shutting down Hollywood Boulevard or Westwood or wherever it might be, right? And so we're at Alice Tully Hall, which is one of the most iconic locations in New York City. So how do you make this film, right, which is this fantastic film with The Rock and Chris Evans and Lucy Liu and, a great partner in Amazon? How do you capture the spirit of the film in this place that has its own iconography, and that has a spirit unto itself? And so, and bring the fans in, because, you can create all these moments, But what we're seeing, and I know you've done it in the interviews that you've had, is especially coming out of the pandemic, people want that live interaction. The artists, the actors want to engage with their fans, because also that creates those moments, that creates those viral moments that everyone is, so much wants to have happen. And again, no matter how hard you try, when you try too hard, what I've seen is you usually fail. So it needs to happen authentically and organically. So we had, from the moment talent dropped off in front of Alice Tully Hall, The Rock getting out, we had fan moments outside. We brought the fans inside into the red carpet, so they were a part of the red carpet, and then had them dotted all along. Now, again, doing that, you can't lose sight too of what needs to come out of this, right? You want the TV interviews, you want the great stills, you want the great photograph. So you have to figure out how to layer it all in and to make it all successful. And I have to say, listen, and I've been doing this a long time, I still get goosebumps. I still get giddy when I watch, The Rock. He's a true movie star. He loves his fans and he knows how important they are. So watching him engage with every single one of those fans, stopping to take a picture, stopping to look at them, listen to them, capture a picture, write an autograph, have fun with it, it just sticks with me, and it keeps me motivated. And then even last night, they've been, Cynthia and Arrivo and Jonathan and Jeff Goldblum and all of, the Universal team have been doing this fantastic global press tour, and so they came to New York, and because they want to do something with the Broadway community. So one of the wonderful things, it was a premiere at MoMA, and so much of the Broadway community was there. And, we're setting up and we're loading in, and, there's so many logistics that go on into loading into this space particularly. And one of the things I noticed is people had already started lining up at 8:00 in the morning. And it was that natural high because the city was a character. And just watching as Cynthia and Ariana got out of their cars and they made sure to stop and go over and engage and, and laugh with their fans. And so that carried into the premiere, right? So that energy, that wonderful, wonderful energy that the studio wants and the actors appreciate.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's almost a homecoming, right, for Wicked too. At that point, like you helped make us, and now we're this global smash, and they really needed to, and it sounds like they did show up in a way that kind of honors the scale of the movie, and all of its history too. How do you make sure that happens? There's a kind of nuts and bolts element to 1540 that's just so cool, of set creation and backdrop creation. And I saw the brick by brick with Pharrell. I was watching the clip with my son from your social. There's a Lego Pharrell. What are some of the cooler moments, or how do you develop things like that to bring the film to life physically in that way? Is it and I'm also interested in kind of the programming of the events too.
Well, listen, again, like, what we were talking about earlier, it's, every engagement with a studio or a streamer or a TV show or a client or whomever, right? It's that you're having a conversation. Yes, there's soup to nuts. Yes, you have a dream, right? You have a vision, and you begin to dialogue about it and ideate and brainstorm and listening. Oftentimes, they already have a marketing campaign put into place. And so you take the art from that and you find inspiration in that. And, as we do this at 1540, and again, to be in a great event company, you have to listen. You have to listen to what's important, and so that you elevate those ideas. And then listen, as a producer, right? You can have the grandest idea, but you still need to come in under budget, and you still need to make it need to be able to build it. And you still need to make all the pieces come together and serve, the vision that you all have agreed upon. So, to me, one of the wonderful things that we do is, we keep having that dialogue with our clients obviously throughout the entire process. But even if, you come up, many times a filmmaker will be involved, not all the time, but they'll have an idea of what they want and what they don't want, which is just as important to listening to the other aspects, And so you're listening and you want, you're trying to is it building something that that comes to life? Like, the wonderful thing is with the Pharrell film, Piece by Piece, Lego, obviously it's a Lego film. So we're engaged with them through the studio. How can we make that come to life? How can we incorporate that authentically into the carpet? And also too, listen, I love cheesy. I love, fully going full throttle and jumping feet first into something. But you also don't want to become, you don't want to miss the plot, right? You don't want to go so far left that you're missing the story. And so with that piece, an example, like we were having conversations with people that were representing Pharrell in this. And, we had come up with this idea of recreating the studio built out of Lego and, where, because that's a big part of the film and obviously his history. And would he want to do this and this? And what we got back is that he wouldn't want to do that. That was something that he didn't want to be a part of it, partially because he didn't want necessarily the attention to be fully on him in that capacity. So again, you could have, and it looked so cool, the rendering that we did. So for me as a producer and then as a company at 1540, we were so excited to be able to do that. But you get the feedback and you get those notes and you listen. And so you adapt and you continually find ways to then bring it to life again, so that you can load it in, you can build it under budget, you can still get these great moments. The filmmakers are happy, the studio is happy, the talent is happy, and everybody walks away with a smile on their face.
What a joy to have, engaged creative partners with your clients. I mean, it doesn't come with every industry, so I think that that's really special. Tell me a little bit about other work that 1540 Productions does. I know they're in fashion and commercial premieres. Are you kind of lending your creative hand to things outside of the film and television industry too?
We have our fingers in many pies. Let's put it that way. Yes, absolutely. And yes, I am. One of the reasons when Craig and I were chatting about coming on board was he loved the fact that I have had so many different incarnations, we'll say, in my career. So I'm able to bring that to 5040, and and I happily share. And they ask me, whether it's working with a brand or in the fashion industry or entertainment, or just as a social media presence, we'll say, right? And how to capture that and how to communicate, because one thing, it's funny, I was having this conversation this week, oftentimes we think a different industry speaks a different language. Whether it's the entertainment industry doesn't really understand fashion industry or fashion doesn't understand it. And the wonderful thing, at 1540, which we really lead with, is we're here to tell your story. We're here to ask questions. We're here, if we don't know something, we're going to learn. But if we do know something, we're going to come to the table and we're going to look to elevate the story that you want to tell. So the great thing is when you walk in through those doors at 1540, everything from the art department to people with 15, 20, 25 years of experience in the event industry, and with an age range of people who are just out of college to people who are in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, but certainly, I'm in my 50s. So everyone's insight is valuable, because, you may be trying to figure something out, or a way to, whether it's a projection or to build something in 3D, or how to make that first entrance at a carpet different, right? So we're all bringing something to the table. And, the great thing is we just did an open house over the summer and invited our clients, both past and present, to come over, and watching their faces as they walked through the different departments, because oftentimes, you're engaging over Zoom, or, you have a walkthrough and you share decks and renderings and, and plot plans and layouts and things like that, but you actually never see how it's built. Mm-hmm. So it's wonderful to see, you have clients, whether it's from, Paramount or Warner Brothers or Amazon or whomever, and they come in and they're like, we had no idea this is where it starts. And so it's exciting to be able to share that and to know that we have the resources within, within the walls of 1540 kind of to do all these things. And we have fantastic vendors that we work with too, that, and we're always open to learning and creating new relationships, right? Whether it's, someone we just did for Red One, the one that I just produced this week, we had this incredible snow globe that was 20 feet in diameter, and it's everyone thinks of like holidays and Christmas and the snow globe. So we knew we wanted that to be a part of it, because it wanted to put a smile on your face, joy, but then to scale up like
Sure.
that, it was fantastic.
How awesome. Yeah, that's what I love about the scale and the energy that you bring to these events. They have to engage from, I imagine that your run of show includes, an hour and a half to 2 hour block of people sitting in a dark room watching a screen. So how much time do these events take up, like in their run, getting people from vehicle inside, getting those cast photos, getting those social hits?
So it's interesting, Dan, it's interesting that you say that, because that was one of the elements, key elements that came up this week, obviously on Red One, and certainly in all of our elements or events. So run of show, right? You're constantly tweaking, building the whole thing. And because of social media, particularly, and influencers and the influence of influencers, right? And the value that they bring, because it's a natural word of mouth. It's a natural part of marketing and promotion. And also you get immediate feedback, right? Mm-hmm. So when you begin to create a run of show, yes, you're like, okay, what's the running time of the film? So you got to block that in, right? That's their tent pole, so to speak, mm-hmm. of the night. And then you back it out. Okay, what's happening pre? So that includes obviously load in, what time you have to be carpet ready, so to speak, what time staff is showing up and all of that. And then what time press check in and everything. And then obviously you open it. Now there is always a slot for influencers. And that is built into every run of show. And, and then it's like, so the influencers have their moment, you capture that, and then they capture their content. And then you have talent and filmmakers run of the show. Now, oftentimes you will strike during a film, depending on timing, right? So for this film, what we wanted to do is Amazon, our partner, wanted to create a post moment after, because so often too, many of the guests, because talent is on the red carpet, many of the guests who you really are doing this for, right? Not just the filmmakers, but the guests and the engagement to create that moment that they're going to have a memory and share it with their friends and family. So we kept everything up. We kept the snow globe up. We kept, we had 2 costume characters. We kept the singing choir. We kept the entire step and repeat, so that when people came out, we had hot chocolate and we had a candy station. We were past holiday cookies, and then we had photo moments and we had brand ambassadors. So as people came out after the 2 hours, they were greeted with smiles on their face and they could grab a cookie and then go grab a photo moment. But we also had, and this is something that we've started doing, certainly probably for the last 6-7 months, our brand ambassadors, as much as they're a part of, like, when you're greeting people and helping with directions, I think we actually help them, because so often, right, you're at a red carpet or you see something, you want to take a picture and you're trying to do a selfie or whatever it might be, or you get a friend of a friend to do it, or a passerby. We have brand ambassadors there to help. So we literally station them throughout the event, whether it's at the red carpet, whether it's in front of the snow globe. We had these letters, these Red One letters that were 10 feet tall, and it was 32 feet wide. So we had brand ambassadors all along there saying, hey, could I take a picture for you?
Nice.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's image is everything, and you're putting so much effort into creating these. I mean, pitch perfect. You guys do just such amazing work at creating such visual spectacles. You don't want someone just trying to sneak a photo. No, take a freaking photo.
Right.
Take the best photo you can. Here, I'll help you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty brilliant. And I've seen a lot of in the industry, I think there's a lot of like kind of those post reactions, like how's someone going to walk out? Sure, there could be a curmudgeon or two, but
right.
How's someone going to walk out of the best party they've been to this year and say something bad about this film? No, they're not going. You're setting this stage for so much positivity and great reflection.
Well, one of the things, sorry to interrupt, one of the things that because again, whether it's because I'm a performer and I'm engaging with an audience, or just always want to make people feel great, right? Like, because again, it's it's about hospitality. We're being of service. We're creating a moment. So from the moment people arrive, whether it's my background, but all of us at 1540 feel the exact same way. Well, even if you're in the event business, right? You're creating a moment and you want someone to feel good. You want someone to remember it by. So from the moment people arrive till the moment that they leave, you have an opportunity really to touch someone, to have influence with them. So that's part of the reason too of having these brand ambassadors or giving out cookies as people leave, again, as they go off into the night, so to speak. You want people to have that memory because you could love a film but have a bad experience when you're leaving. So so the beginning, the middle, and the end are as important as each other.
There's the arc of storytelling.
Completely.
Yeah, very good. Very good. All right, this has been amazing. I know there's so many details to dig into. I love you're just dropping all these 20-foot snow globe. Oh yeah, 10-foot letters. It's like that's what I know 1540 does. So I encourage all the listeners and watchers to go check out what you do. Follow Mr. Rutherford on Instagram. Follow 1540 Productions. Just it's such a bright spot to see of creativity and thoughtfulness and creating unique experiences because you are tied. You've got to live up to some of the best Steven Spielberg, Ariana Grande, style level of event. If you don't bring it, they're gonna call you out. So it's pretty important.
It's true.
Just on a closing note, and you've kind of brought it up too. There's a lot of senior voices in the room. But as I've seen you want to share to draw more people in, and you have a big focus on inclusivity and expanding the industry. How do you kind of pursue, and how would you tell someone interested in the industry to kind of pursue a career in this and to be able to be involved? Like I know they could. Maybe being a cater waiter, people may think, oh, I want to be in events. I'm not going to be a caterer. Well, hey, you could meet someone at that you're serving a shrimp cocktail to, and they could change the rest of your life. So how do you go about that yourself in your work?
Well, the wonderful thing in the event industry, it is broad. It is a big tent, right? There are so many different aspects that you could be a part of. And, coincidentally, I hired someone to work with me this week who had been recommended by a friend of a friend of a friend, right? Who needed work. They're an actor. And, and I have a soft spot, right, for people. Sure. And the wonderful thing is they came with curiosity. They were interested not just to make a paycheck, so to speak, but they from afar, they had admired the industry, and they had gone to a number of premieres or, been a guest of. And so when they came and started working, they immediately started asking questions. They'd always been fascinated by the industry. And so what I would say to anyone is, if you're interested or curious, reach out to someone. If you know someone in PR, reach out to someone. If you know someone at a studio, reach out to someone like me who actually is in the industry. Again, because there's so many different roles that can be played, whether it's in the art department, whether it's in, building scenery, whether it's in producing, whatever it is, or hospitality. You could work at a studio, you could work at a restaurant, you could work. There's so many different ways to gain access. For me, I literally started as a PA. I literally started in the floral department because I could lift the heavy vases.
Nice.
And then, but from that, again, you see how things are built, and the wonderful thing at 1540, we have an internship program that people reach out to all the time, and they, from all different parts of the country. And many times people don't know like what they want to do, or if they know they want to be a part of it, but they don't know the questions to ask. And so the person that came and worked with us last week, he brought it up, or I could see he was asking questions. And so we started talking about it, and he goes, I would love to be a part of it. I just don't know where I would fit in, so to speak. And I said, well, what are you interested in? And he goes, I love working with props. I love working with scenery. And so the wonderful thing is we had a lot of decor for this last Red One premiere. So I made sure to partner them with our lead scenic person. And watching his face light up when he was helping her flock Christmas trees, it was just, not to sound cheesy or ridiculous, but it made me smile, like warmed up my heart, because I was watching someone get inspired. Mm-hmm. I was watching someone's creativity come to life that maybe they hadn't tapped into before. Now, I would also say, don't be afraid to begin to try something out, because there may be one part of the industry that doesn't work for you, but there may be another aspect. You're like, oh, I'd rather be part of the marketing part of it, or something along those lines. Keep trying it out, because to me, again, you could work on the grandest scale or very intimate dinners. But what you're doing is you're creating a moment that is going to have a lasting effect on maybe a few individuals or thousands.
Sure. Oh, beautiful. And the idea that, the things we see are glamorous, actually working in them could be flocking a Christmas tree. It could be spreading tinsel or directing someone to take the photo. All those things add up to a global premiere, a global
Completely.
presence. Well, very cool. I think this insight is just so interesting, and so it just pops off the page, as you will, of kind of the artistry and what great work you and your team does. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, to learn about kind of this behind the scenes, and I think people get a kick out of it. I'll ask your team for some photos and some evidence of all the great work you do, and I just can't wait to watch more and talk to you in the future about some more of the great work you're doing.
Dan, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I have to say, I thank you for asking me could join you on your podcast. It's if you can't tell, I get very excited about it.
Yeah.
I get excited about this because, as you said, is the creativity, to be able to creative and bring something certainly of yourself, but also the people that you work with. And there's so much creativity at 1540 and in this industry that every single day, even if I've had 2 hours sleep, I get inspired. So.
Oh, I love it. Well, good. Well, that passion bleeds through. I appreciate it. Yeah, cool. Well, I hope to talk to you again.
Me too. I look forward to it.
I want to thank Eric Rutherford for being a guest today. He was incredible. Hearing about the creativity, the precision, the sheer scale of what goes into producing these iconic premieres is outstanding. And I love the way 1540 Productions ties the essence of every film into each detail of the event. It's clear to see why these premieres leave such a lasting impression and why they get the call every time. What stood out to me most was how these events have evolved into full-blown productions themselves. They combine strategy and storytelling and a touch of magic to connect people to a brand or a film in such a memorable way. Eric's insights into creating Instagrammable moments were particularly fascinating. It's a reminder that the events like these, they aren't just for Hollywood insiders. They're cultural celebrations for audiences across the globe who are going to be enjoying the film. So if you enjoyed hearing about Eric's work and the behind-the-scenes process of crafting these events, stick with us. We've got tons of more exciting episodes to come at all kinds of events and festivals. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. It really helps us to keep sharing these incredible stories. So until next time, I'm Daniel Roth, your host. Thank you for joining. Happy exploring.